Many battlefield footage have confirmed that injured Russian military personnel are being ordered back into combat before their wounds have healed. Footage released by Ukrainian analysts shows Russian troops with visible injuries being sent on assaults, with some barely able to walk. Recently, the ASTRA Telegram channel reported, citing footage posted on several social media accounts which showed troops using crutches to fend off drones, while others struggled to move. One video, shared on the Donbas Case Telegram channel, appears to show a Russian soldier using a crutch to fight off an attacking drone. Another video, published by Ukrainian journalist Yuri Butasov, allegedly shows two Russian soldiers in a dire condition. One is seen walking using crutches while another is crawling on the ground. Astra also published a video earlet, showing wounded soldiers from the 5th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade preparing to go into battle. According to ASTRA, one soldier had previously been taken from a hospital in Yeysk despite having an open wound on his leg and missing a finger. He was reportedly forced into an ambulance and sent back to the front. In one widely shared video, a Ukrainian drone targets a Russian soldier who is clearly using crutches to move. In another recording, a Russian soldier watching his injured comrades being forced into an attack. The scale of the issue is larger than initially thought. What was first believed to be an isolated incident has now been exposed as a systemic practice. Social media footage suggests that multiple Russian units have been ordered to deploy wounded personnel who should still be receiving medical care. The Russian army is in a difficult situation in the direction of the city of Pokrovsk, Donetsk region. The Russian Kremlovskaya Tabakurka Telegram channel published this information, citing generals close to the chief of the General Staff of the Ministry of Defense, Valery Gerasimov. "The power is completely out, we don't know what to do," the source told the channel. It was noted that the Russians were suffering between 120 to 300 casualties every day in the Pokrovsk direction. Most of the wounded die because they cannot receive the necessary medical care. The enemy, with its drones and other weapons, does not allow the wounded to be removed from the battlefield. Ukrainian military expert, co-founder and analyst of the Deep State project Ruslan Mikula noted that in some areas of the front, including the Pokrovsk sector, the Russian army is losing the initiative. A huge number of people, as well as forces and equipment, are concentrated in the Pokrovsk direction, both on our side and on the enemy's side. Therefore, after the active actions that the enemy has been carrying out in recent months, at the end of January there was a certain decline in activity associated with the huge losses that the enemy suffered. This formed a salient south of Pokrovsk, Mikula noted. According to the co-founder and analyst of the Deep State project, the so-called wedges made by the defense forces of Ukraine are not the only successes, but they need to be verified. This indicates that in some areas of the front, including the Pokrovsk sector, the enemy is losing the initiative. This does not mean that a counteroffensive will begin tomorrow on Seladov or Avdiivka, but in general it indicates that the enemy's offensive potential has significantly decreased. And it has decreased to the level that in some areas the enemy has to retreat, as happened in Pishchain, Dachinsk, near Vodiane-Dro, explained Mikula. Ukrainian troops have struck a rare North Korean 170mm M1978 Koksan self-propelled howitzer used by the Russian army, local telegram channels reported on Tuesday. This marked the first case of Koksan howitzer being struck in the front line since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022. The military hardware was hit during the operation carried out by the fighters from the 412th Nemesis Regiment in Luhansk region in eastern Ukraine. The Telegram channel described the operation as a great achievement by the Nemesis Regiment. The Koksan self-propelled gun was first seen in Russian service in October last year, while its first combat use was recorded during the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988. The firing range of this self-propelled gun with a high-explosive fragmentation projectile reaches 43 kilometers, while with an active reactive projectile it can reach as far as 54 to 60 kilometers. The firing rate is 2 shots in 5 minutes. Koksan is serviced by 8 crew members. It should be noted that North Korea has been supplying Russia with thousands of troops and military hardware as part of the landmark defense treaty signed between the two countries in 2024. According to South Korean, US and Ukrainian intelligence, at least 11,000 North Korean troops have been sent to fight on the front lines against Ukrainian forces.
US officials have proposed to send peacekeepers from non-European countries to Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire, The Economist has reported. According to the magazine, they are primarily talking about a military contingent from Brazil or China. US Vice President Vance said that the forces consisting only of Europeans would be less effective in deterrence, the publication's journalists noted. It is expected that these forces will be deployed along the ceasefire line to create a buffer zone. A contingent of peacekeepers from Brazil or China could complement the military personnel from European countries, including France. Earlier, the French authorities proposed a European mission that would remain far behind the front line. Thus, the military should provide support to Ukraine without necessarily being involved in possible future hostilities. However, it is well known that Russia opposes any deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine. Therefore, Donald Trump's administration will have to force Vladimir Putin to make concessions. The Economist concludes it is also expected that the UK, France, Germany and Poland will be among the countries that may send their peacekeepers to Ukraine. Besides, in January, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was insisting on deploying US troops in the country as a possible security guarantor for Kyiv. Europe could send a multi-brigade reassurance or deterrence force to Ukraine. The number is estimated at between 25,000 and 30,000 troops. The Washington Post reports this with reference to sources. It is noted that these troops, if they are sent to Ukraine, will not be deployed along the contact line, but will be ready for a show of force if the Russian army resumes hostilities. At the same time, the publication notes that the troops could be supported by a large number of forces from outside Ukraine if they need to quickly build up their forces and advance. France, meanwhile, has carried out more advanced military planning, with estimates suggesting it could send around 10,000 troops, though other European allies are still more worried or have limited military capabilities, two people familiar with the matter said. Ukraine's European backers are jockeying for a role in talks to end the conflict from which they have been excluded, even as those negotiations could reshape the continent's security landscape. The prospect of sending troops into Ukraine is gaining traction among European leaders as the Trump administration moves quickly toward direct talks with Moscow, with US and Russian officials expected to meet in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, the article says. The United States has ruled out sending its contingent to Ukraine. However, European officials say Trump has not ruled out the prospect of supporting European forces that could enter Ukrainian territory. Estonia is ready to send its troops to Ukraine as part of a post-war peacekeeping mission, together with other partners, said the country's foreign minister Markus Sakna. In addition, Sweden does not rule out sending its military to Ukraine as part of a post-war peacekeeping contingent. Earlier, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that London was ready to send troops to Ukraine, if necessary, to provide security guarantees. According to him, the UK is ready to play a leading role in accelerating work on security guarantees.